Except for the reports.
Yeah.
Any idea when it's gonna be available for pickup? I'm trying to find someone driving to Concord. Oh, we got two hands up.
I'll be going through Concord quite a bit in the next 3 weeks or so. You're talking about the printer at the end of 393?
How about Monday?
Probably.
Probably.
He's moved. But
Well,
he's-
you just give me the address and I'm going, I go down 393 and get on 93 North. So if it's, I'm probably closer than anybody else is gonna be unless Ed's gonna be at the State House.
Do you know where his print shop was? Down
Where it
in the
was,
old-
yes, I
Down
did.
in the old mill?
Yeah,
That's his whole operation now, down there.
okay.
Do you want the specific address?
Yes, I would.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And the telephone number. Thank you, Ed.
Okay.
Thanks,
So
Ed.
what is it I'm picking up? Town reports?
Yeah, down.
Yeah.
A package.
So I do not have confirmation that they'll be
Well, just
ready
text
on
me.
Monday, but okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything else, Laurie?
No, thank you.
Planning board.
The planning board did not meet, there was no quorum.
Thank you.
I will add that there is a meeting still planned for first Thursday in March at 6:30 to go over the master plan.
That'll be the 7th of March.
Correct.
Okay, so master plan discussions on the 7th at 7 o'clock, you guys meet?
6:30.
6:30, okay, we'll- sure. All right, road agent.
Well, we're still at it.
Mhm.
As you probably can imagine, it's been a pretty, as Diane was saying, the freeze-thaw cycle, the amount of rain we've had this winter is really taxing most people's budgets. I'm sure our budget is comparable to last year. But I do know at this point, we're at the amount of salt we used for the entire year last year. But I think we're better off than a lot of other people that are way over their budget. So it's just constantly chasing, the ice, scraping it. This last storm with the rain, it didn't get up warm enough. I mean, it bounced between 32 and 33 as opposed to the 38, 39, 40 that they were talking about. And we're trying to this is the time of year, we've got to get the snowbanks back and get ready for the spring runoff and the melt. So we're working at that, but you get these very wet storms and it just glues right to the edge of the road again, so it's just something we're continuing to fight.
And then we're just waiting for spring, and then we can start on projects.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yes, Dan.
Speaking of salt, I used the last of the salt that we spread out front here
Okay.
today. I don't know who's in charge of picking up more.
Yeah, the ice mill, to go down to the
Yeah.
hardware store.
Do you want me to just bring up a 5-gallon pail of salt?
Mm.
Do we want to see any attractive here, or do we rather just put the calcium
Just
chloride?
salt and broken concrete.
But can we do salt on concrete? Or is that,
Technically, no, but if you go, I don't know what it was made with, but 4,000 to 5,000 pound concrete can take salt, and calcium chloride is just about as bad for it as
so if you wouldn't mind, could you get us some salt up here?
I can, if that's what you want to
Yeah,
do.
but if you fill the bucket, we'll just do pure salt. And maybe next year we'll go back to the little white stuff, but.
Okay.
I left the empty bucket. There was just a teeny bit in it, and I put it not on the cement, I put it on the dirt in
Right
front
in
of the
front.
cement. There was nothing, the cement was dry. It was-
You did this facility, not next door, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just a little bit, just today when I
Okay.
came in, because there was pure ice right in front of the cement. And I finished it up with just a little bit left.
Thank
Got it
you.
all over my shoes too. but-
All right, Ed, so if you could grab some salt for us, that'd be good. Hopefully get us through the rest of the year. Okay, nothing else, Ed, we good?
I think so.
All right, we'll go with it. Conservation? Did not meet. Heritage. We
The
did.
next meeting for the Heritage Commission, we met the other night, will be a different date for us. It will be on the Wednesday, March 6th, and it will be at the Churchill Schoolhouse at 6 PM, since the Conservation Commission should be meeting here. So that will be our next meeting.
Okay. Cemetery trustees?
Nothing to report. We have a candidate running for the 3-year term that's open, which was Rick's position. Nothing else.
All right. And emergency management, Brad.
Gentlemen, ladies. Emergency operations plan. Curious where we stand on the preparations for that. I understand we've got Dunn's number.
We do.
Thank you very much, appreciate that. The review committee now, is that where it is, or where are we at with it?
We've done a heck of a lot on it.
That's where it currently is.
Okay,
We have not met for a while.
okay,
I can't meet again until at least the middle of April. So I can start that process all over again in April. And keep you
the
posted.
only thing I think, or correct me if I'm wrong, but for the review committee to say to the selectmen either it's okay with the being the grant or it's not okay.
That hasn't been said yet.
Okay.
Just to give a quick update, that is where we're at. All we need to do is meet probably 2 more times, put together a quick report of everything we collected so the selectmen can make the decision,
Okay.
and then they can go out and get the contract signed, and then we can start the process of having the meetings. But
Okay.
estimate,
One of the things that we need from you are how many estimates did they ask for? 2 or 3 estimates from people that wanted to do the report.
Okay. I can take care of that.
Okay,
Not a problem. I'll have that before the end of the week. Who should I provide it to?
would you be able to meet with us the next time we meet, so you could bring that
And when
with
you
you?
meet?
You said April?
the middle of April.
Okay, well, there's more than just you on the committee, so perhaps we
There
can,
is.
perhaps we can do that. Meet sooner than later, before.
If we could, that would be
Yes,
fantastic.
I agree.
We're starting to get a reputation amongst community towns around us that this has taken as long as it has, and I just like to keep the ball rolling any way that we can.
Sure.
And then along with that, hazard mitigation plan. It's time to redo that also. I didn't know if while we were working on the operations plan, it'd be a good time to have the grant review committee review the hazmat, because it's the same boilerplate, and then we can proceed.
Pardon me?
Then we can proceed with the hazard mitigation plan when we're done with the emergency operations plan. Just have the grant review committee review this at the same time.
Bring it down.
My point was gonna be, we only have 5,000 in the budget.
Yep.
Right.
So is that a freebie or is that part of the 5,000?
No, it's not part of the 5,000. It ends up being like the 5,000. Yes, FEMA will be paying for the report.
So it's next year's work.
Next year's work, what I'm trying to do is get everything started now. We've been approved for the funds. Want to lock those funds in before they disappear, before somebody else gets them. Sound reasonable?
That's fine. And we'll have that for 2020.
Excellent. But we'll have this.
But we'll
before
get
2020.
it to the grant review committee now, so we're not
Super.
falling behind.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Does it make sense to get this to you, Marilou?
Sure.
It's the other grant application. Phone system update. I saw an email that we're going to be looking to meet with the fine folks on the date change to a Wednesday. So Laurie can be here
Wednesday.
the 6th.
Yep. 9:30 a.m.
So the phone vendor's gonna come here on the 6th at 9:30. You be there? But just,
I'm planning on being here.
and Laurie will be here for office hours, so,
I'll try to be here.
Who's
coming?
we are ordering a new phone system.
Oh, a new phone, okay.
And, yeah, the idea is every department will have its own voicemail, we'll get a whole new phone system, and the cost is relatively affordable, so we're meeting with them on the 6th. And so either Rick or Rich will be here as well, and I think I can make that.
I'll be here.
Excellent. All right. Grass cutting 2019. How do we want to handle that? I don't think Haley will be able to do it anymore. So do we want to contract with a vendor, or is it somebody local that wants to take it up? Great.
I'd recommend talking to Corey, since he does the
Doesn't sound-
2 cemeteries and he does the 17, 18, 19 graveyards.
Yep.
He's around, he's local, it's not a big job. I'd talk to him.
Okay.
So he's on for this year?
I'm assuming, I've got to call him, but I haven't heard anything to the contrary, but I want to confirm with him that he's on.
Okay.
Would you, when you do call him to arrange for this year, would you ask him if he could come up here and take a look here and give us a
Give us a
price?
price. Yep.
That'd be great. Okay. We need to assign warrant articles to be discussed at town meeting, and,
I put together a draft proposal for us to look at if you. I tried to
Before
put
you-
them up.
yeah, great.
Can we do archives?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I should be actually at the first person on the list, since it's archives, beginning with A. So that
Laurie,
I don't
would you
have
fix that,
to
please?
sit here and listen to everybody else. Now they have
I'm
to
sorry, I
listen
didn't
to
know you
me.
had to speak, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Great, apologies.
I wanted to follow up on Rich's suggestion in response to the email on Sunday. For those people who weren't involved in the email, I'll try to be abbreviated. I've pulled out some records that we received approximately 3 years ago from Adeline Russo that were her mother's, Adelaide Hughes, who was the head of the school board, the Brookfield School Board, for many years before it dissolved. They were responsible, they had their own budget. It's just like any other school board, the Wakefield School Board, any other town. They had their own budget, they hired and fired, so on and so forth. And this was prompted by Diane Smith asking me if we had any documents about our early involvement with the Governor Wentworth Regional School District. And I'd been asked that before by the selectmen about 2 years ago. And other than the annual student inventory and some budgetary stuff, I've never found anything in the contemporary period about contracts, agreements, or anything like that. So after Diane left, before I was here working on the archives Saturday morning. Before I left, I pulled this envelope, which turned out to be, is from the law offices of James John Khaled, who used to be a town attorney back in the 50s, 60s, and maybe into the 70s. And he apparently did an amount of work on the lawsuit, the injunction that was filed by the school board against basically the region. I forget if it was the regional district or if it was, I think it was the New Hampshire Department of Education. And ended up finding a whole bunch of stuff about how that happened, how the Churchill School had already closed. Our students were going to a couple different places, but mainly Carpenter, the high school, the junior high school, 3 were going to Brewster, I think, and 1 was going to Newt down in Milton. And it was on a tuition basis. We did not belong to the school district at that point. So the long and short of it is, there's a lot of documents, most of the original documents. This is the rest of it, and I stopped here this afternoon and went through this. And what isn't in here is basically here. There's also the school board's records from, I think, 1926. So there's a fairly good history of the school board. And then the final resolution, of course, was on a 3rd vote after the previous 2 having been declared null and void, for want of a better word. We were annexed into the regional school district, which is the term that's used by the board, by the New Hampshire Department of Education. So the question that was raised was about processing all of this. There's a lot of photocopying that would have to be done. It's hard to project just how much time. There's a lot of, not a lot of it, there's some of it that would be tossed. There's some duplication, but almost everything would have to be photocopied because it was the days of thermofax, which is deadly for a document because it ends up, not only does the print disappear, the paper disappears over time. There's a lot of mimeograph, which is the old blue. People used to get a little high on it, if you remember. There's some mimeograph on very acidic paper. All that has to be photocopied. There's tons of newsprint because the Granite State was running regularly articles about what was going on. I would say maybe 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours maybe, to process all of it and get it properly organized and described. And in my email, I had said, well, that would be 5 or 6 hours that I don't have, and my budget is much smaller this year, that I wouldn't have to work on the current town records that Kristen and I have been working on. And that's when Rich said he thought we should talk about it, which I think is reasonable. I mean, that's why I put that in there. Actually, I was kind of implicitly suggesting that you raise my budget at the town meeting, but that's probably not going to happen either. And the long and short of it is, I don't think we really have to discuss it at length because I can volunteer my time to do it. It's a very important part of the town history that was significant in the history of the town, with the closing of the Churchill School and then the dissolution of the school board. So what do you think?
I think it's worth saving.
Oh, it's worth saving. It's not going to go anyplace.
And it's got ongoing ramifications to our.
Well, and it's part of the history.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense to talk about cellar holes and mills and all of that and forget about this.
So the copying is to preserve it.
Yes. Yeah, because most of it would have to be tossed. I mean, if there's an original that's got original signatures, you can encapsulate it into Mylar after you copy it, because sometimes you want to have the original signatures. It's questionable after 50, 60 years whether that's that important.
How
What's
much time we got left before it turns to dust? A week?
Oh, no, it's more that I know Diane was interested in getting a handle on what did the agreement look like when we joined, or when we were annexed. We didn't join, we were annexed, based on a town vote and on a vote by the school board. By the way, the school board budget the year we joined was $32,000 for Brookfield.
Let's pay that again.
Yes.
Say how many students?
44 or 45 students, spread across all the grades. Yeah.
So this is more important than the other work you were working on?
I don't know if I'd say it's more important. It was kind of like when I realized what was in there, because I'd never looked at it when Adeline dropped it off. I thought, well, could tackle this, but it doesn't have to be done this year. There's not a whole lot about the annexation. I mean, there was a tuition agreement, which I sent to all of you. That's that and the agreement that is part of the annexation. Those are the only agreements that I saw. The annexation agreement had to do with votes that Brookfield would have, along with all the other members of the school district.
I went to the Board of Education, I guess, early last year, maybe the year before, and asked for the agreement. And they gave me the document that describes it. And it really is a set of meeting minutes where the town voted to go in under these assumptions of the allocation or whatever.
Yeah.
That is the agreement, that meeting minute set of notes. So
It's the one that says, whereas, and has like 4 or 5 paragraphs.
don't remember anymore, it's in the file.
Okay.
You have a real agreement, though.
I have the formal annexation, which is stamped with the New Hampshire Department of Education and signed by the, I'm assuming the Commissioner of Education. And then I have the minutes of the meeting that generated that annexation. And it's about 2 pages.
Might be the same set of
And
minutes.
it goes, whereas blah, 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 whereas blah, 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 blah. And then we therefore,
Records a vote.
yeah, actually, it was included in the documents that I sent to you on Sunday. Okay. And then there was also a agreement about the annexation that's about 3 or 4 pages long. And then the tuition agreement, which I didn't even look at, I just made a scan of it and sent that along.
There was tuition and not a proportionate
It was just a tuition agreement which laid out, I believe, I'm assuming, how the tuition would be
Okay.
decided.
So I guess, so if I may?
There it is there. And that I scanned and sent to you.
Yeah, this is June of 66.
Yep.
Oh, 66.
Yeah. And that's Brookfield.
Okay.
That's not the other towns. This was all part of the annexation. The actual annexation was finally approved in 67.
All right, well, I don't know, hearing from Rick, no, Diane, I'm sorry, before you go in, you had your hand up.
Yes, so I'm sorry to have created a little bit of a controversy here and concern, but I think it's great that my question prompted a discovery of some important documents. All I was trying to get to was whether or not we, as a community, had the documents that that linked us to the Governor Wentworth School District, because I had been told that the towns had contracts, and yet the documents that I was given from someone else outside the town indicated that the formula was set in the original organizing meeting in March or April of 1963 to form the district. That's when the formula was set.
Right.
And we weren't involved in, there were 6 towns, but Moulton Borough was there instead of us as part of the 6. So I was simply trying to find out whether or not our arrangements are different. It's odd that there's arrangements for tuition in 66, although I don't think this was
There's
resolved in
also-
67.
67 it was resolved.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was the
Based on the
tuition in
Attorney General.
66. All right, so in 67, if we were annexed into the school district, then presumably at that point, the formula got applied to us.
Well, in the formula for Brookfield is in other documents.
Okay.
The equalization, all that stuff, which I don't understand at all, I have all of that in this accordion file. With the
That would be important.
percentages and all of that.
That would be nice to know.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about 5 hours of time.
I-
Even if it's not in your budget, we can reallocate within the budget to make sure that you don't run dry by the end of the year. So, I mean, a motion, we have Craig to take this project on.
Second.
Okay.
But you need to be paid.
Well, or I'll volunteer my time. I mean, if it goes quickly,
Legally, you can't volunteer as an hourly employee.
oh, really?
Right.
Yeah.
Too bad.
It's against the labor law.
Fake news.
All right, so, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
So, go for it, and again, if we don't need to get extra money in at the town meeting, we can move with the
Sure.
budget,
Yep.
just to make sure you don't run dry.
Yeah,
The other thing that you should know is that I drove the town record book number 7 down to New England Document Conservation Center
We were talking about them at the Heritage meeting, so, yeah.
so that they will have in my hands anyways, before March 12th, there's actually going to be 2, they're not bids, they're not estimates, they're basically a plan, a financial plan. One would be to keep the original binding and repair it. The other would be to do a whole new binding. They have to assess it and see if it can't be repaired. She seemed to think, the conservationist that I met with, seemed to think that it could be repaired and that it was in good enough condition that it was worth repairing, which would mean the cost would be significantly different, I think.
Good.
But we'll see when we get the estimate.
And you think you have that number for the meeting?
That's the plan. I told her I needed it by March 12th because we had done a warrant article, which may be one of the ones that DRA didn't like, with the rounded figure of 10,000.
So this new work, you'll just schedule within your own priorities and let us
Yeah.
know what's happening.
Yeah, there's some things that I want to get finished up with Kristen and then I'll work on it. I'm probably going to meet with Diane and go over some of it. Start photocopying.
You did?
Since I'm not an employee, may I volunteer to help with this effort since I started?
Yes, you
Oh,
can.
yeah, sure,
Up
yeah.
to Craig, yeah, absolutely.
That hopefully will cut the cost.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Craig. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump over. I should have realized you
That's
were
okay.
here right in front of me. And you weren't here just to hang out, so.
Yeah, I didn't have anything better to do on Tuesday night.
I'm not cold today. Okay, so back on to warrant articles.
Okay,
And sign like riches.
I made some proposals for us to look at. I tried to split them up.
I'm gonna reject every one of them.
See if you like proposed. I think you got extra copies there.
Carry on. Speak up.
All right, just what we'll discuss really quick is at the town meeting, each warrant article is presented by the board. If it's a petition warrant article, the petitioner typically would go ahead and present the warrant article. What we try to do is divvy them up amongst the three of us so we can prepare in accordance with the meeting and have, speak logically about it. Some of these are gonna be tweaked, because DRA is not happy with us and how we're doing some of these issues, but we'll figure if we get this resolved. Oh, it gave me the cable on it.
I can't do it.
No, I'm kidding.
I don't have cable.
As long as we don't need to rename it, it's fine. Okay. I'm fine with this.
I'm good.
All right, good, well then, Laurie, would you send a copy to Dr. Marsh? She likes to know who's doing what. That was the easy part. That was the tough one.
Voting booth setup.
And then,
Good time we have that all.
Yeah.
So we're setting up in here. That has been very clear, resounding no, that next door did not work. So we're just gonna find a date, time.
Yep.
Where are we now? Well, the first is March 12th of the month.
Yeah.
We could, voting is not the one.
wait,
Want to do it on the 10th? Just so they're not hanging out any longer.
Do it in the afternoon, maybe?
I don't care.
Afternoon, okay, at 10?
You want to decide the night?
I can do it tonight, anytime.
only for the night.
Okay, well, we do the night.
All right.
Like 9 o'clock, eh?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wait, it's not too early, but it's not too late.
9
Right?
9 a.m., well,
9 a.m.
if it's 9 p.m., I might not be the guy. 9 p.m. on 9. So, I guess, Laurie, you need to post, technically the selectmen are getting together, post it as a meeting, the 9th, for voting setup.
Seeking volunteers.
Well, no, just the board of selectmen are together technically, but just some, I'm gonna see if we get paid here. Just so no one's gonna say that we didn't post the meeting. Now, it's a really short election, it's 1 to 6. We usually divvy up the hours. And then we're meeting right after, so.
You want to set a date for taking them back down?
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Might have a new board.
All right?
Oh, he's younger, one of them's younger. Oh.
Get them all hard work.
Do it on its own.
I don't know.
What is it, 11 to 5?
It's 1 to 6. I don't care. Basically we got, 5 hours there? We technically supposed to have 2 of us here, right? But I don't see the state government cracking down on us that we don't have overlap constantly. I'd be happy to come here and open up. I can get here at noon. Can hang out till 2.
Okay, I'd like to be home at supper hours. I got a dog,
Okay.
so I'll do 2 to 4.
Yeah, you do
4 to
4 to
6.
6. All right, so I'll get here noonish. I'll hang out to 2 or longer, I don't care. And then you get the middle, and you at the end. And then,
My assumption is that night we typically have a selectmen's meeting in the
in the back,
schoolhouse
at
at
sign and-
6:30-ish or thereabouts.
all right, so Laurie, post that too. Then on the 12th, we'll have a meeting at,
6:30-ish is what we typically.
yeah, it's usually quick, so let's just call it 6:30
Okay.
in the schoolhouse.
And do you guys also set up the chairs for town meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do.
I'll recruit Hayden, I'll get some young blood here. So earn his volunteer hours.
What time's the town meeting, 7?
Yes.
It don't snow.
2 years in a row now. Bite your tongue, Rick.
Go to the street, right?
All right, any other new business you want to discuss? Rick, Rich, good?
Good?
Yep.
Okey-dokey then. Brad,
Yes, sir.
the light on the flagpole, has
Yes,
Rich, has Rich talked to you about that?
Yes,
Okay, problem solved.
that and also the interior lighting.
We didn't talk about that. You want to talk to that?
Oh, sure.
Some of the bulbs are out.
Yeah, I got a couple.
I asked Red to take a look at it.
The fluorescent lights.
He came back with a suggestion. Take it.
He said he's buying more fluorescent bulbs, start changing over to LEDs slowly. He said doing the whole building at once. It's the same light fixture, you just take the ballast out, wire nut the wires together, and do one office at a time. That'll give spare bulbs to fill in where the others are burned out. And then just as the bulbs burn out, keep progressing through.
Oh, you're talking about these fluorescent tube lights on
Right.
each, oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at these
No.
sconces in my mind.
And eventually change these as they start to go, if we can get a close enough LED version.
Yeah, we got enough leftover bulbs, once we probably run out of our supply, maybe we just have to go to LED there, but, oh, I like the idea of LEDs in there, fluorescents are pretty gross. You know,
There is a box of 4-foot fluorescents in the utility room. However, they're the wrong ones. They're F6, T-series.
Of course, wrong ones. I would start doing one office at a time, or whichever, you know, I guess you'd argue that maybe which offices probably use the most, but just,
Who's more important?
absolutely, we know Laurie has to have the best lighting possible.
Just pick it, Brad, wherever they start blowing out first, stop there.
That's okay, the tax collectors doesn't count.
This is true, that's where our cash comes in, so we gotta take care of those two first and foremost.
No, that's where the cash goes out.
Well, out in. All right, so yeah, I'm all for it, you know.
Okay,
Okay?
I'll take care of it.
Thank you. All right, no other new business? We got some mail.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead.
The grant review committee is working on a process also, so this would be a good time for us to follow the process. The emergency management director came in and basically showed you the grant that he's going to apply for. And what our process is that it would be a vote from the board to trigger the grant review committee. It looks like these documents have to be back by October, so we need to get this done probably a few weeks before October of this year, so we can get the documents to him so we can send them. So I would just request a vote of the board to trigger the grant review committee for the hazard mitigation grant.
Thank you.
That shows the town's responsibility of being around, I think it's $2,600 to $2,900. That's all a soft match of in-kind services, i.e. everybody from town participates in the plan. Our rate is established in there, it's, I want to say it's around $20 an hour.
Because they got sample meeting minutes here, please use this language when documenting meeting minutes accepting the grant. The town of Brookfield Board of Selectmen, in a majority vote, accepted the terms of the pre-disaster mitigation program as presented in the amount of $6,999.75 for the local hazard mitigation plan update. Furthermore, the board acknowledges the total cost of this project will be $9,333, in which the town will be responsible for 25% match, $2,333.25. So I don't think we make this motion now, because we want the grant review committee to give us their input before we make that acceptance, obviously. So essentially a simple motion that we're gonna ask that the grant review committee review this and give us their recommendation on this. Is that essentially what your procedure is gonna look like?
Correct. It's not a recommendation, it's a report that'll be given to you that will explain the details so you can,
Okay.
and then it'll be done in the selectmen's meeting, so you can ask questions to us, and you will have the report to refer to, and then at that point, you can make the decision to vote on the accepting the grant.
I got you, okay. All right, so I move forth a motion that we ask the grant review committee to review this grant and give us a report back so we can make an informed decision when they're done.
Second.
Project's local hazard mitigation plan update, so. Give a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Second.
Aye. Okay, aye. All right, so we ask that you proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, just some of the mail that's come in from the Government Wentworth School District. They gave us a nice student list. So we have to go through and make sure we're not paying for anybody that doesn't live here. Pass this to you so we can kind of pass it around the office, see who we know shouldn't be here. Project here out of Plymouth, New Hampshire. We are taking this opportunity to contact the town welfare coordinators and social service agencies that refer clients to Project Care for Assistance. Project Care Board has recently completed an assessment of 2018 grant giving and determined the need to communicate and reiterate some of our application requirements to both you and our applicants. This will ensure the information we need is determined in order to grant the best possible amounts. So basically, you can get New Hampshire Co-op grant service, power service, and the application's there. I'm unaware of who applies to this.
We'll give it to Lynn.
I'll say this is the best person to give this to is just Lynn, and she knows anyone that needs it. We can give that to Lynn, or maybe you have to mail it or scan it to her. Oy, that's some small print. Oh, this is just from the state of New Hampshire with regards to our equalization. So their final ratio study for 2018 has been endorsed, and
I think it's the third paragraph. Yeah, I think the important number is that
is it 76?
76 on the equalization assessment, and when that number is below 80, we are required to do a reassessment of the town. And
We've been creeping down for the past couple of years. We were I feel what we were last year, but we were solidly in last year. I think we were 89%. I could be wrong about that, but we're at 76.3%, so they're saying to us, time to reassess. So that's on the books.
you put this here, I don't know what, this is from the
What's that?
Department of Transportation. They talked about our two bridges again. Moose Mountain is still on the red list, and Clark Road is not. And Rick had questions about this, right? This is the report from the state on Moose Mountain Bridge. There's two folders, one for Clark and one for Moose Mountain. And you had questions about why it's on the red list.
Can I go over this?
It should be in that form.
You want me to read the bills?
Please do.
Okay. We have a bill from Donahue Tucker and Ciandella attorneys. And their bill for this month is $95.93. A bill from a George Sansucci, who is, it says engineer and appraising, $591.51.
Just for clarification, that George Sansucci is the expert that the towns have retained in the public works litigation, and so we're paying a partial share as well.
And this part of DTC is also for that. They're representing the town in the same suit.
Granite State Minerals salt, $1,873.54. Seacoast Media Group for planning board announcements and stuff that were put in the paper, $102.57. Eversource. So the first one is for $219.05. And the second one is for $93.59. I need 2 rolls of stamps. It's now $110. I'm gonna allow bills and other stuff. We have the final payment to Civic Plus for the implementation and redesign of the website at $1,500. We have a bill from 10 Construction for $11,867 for the time period of 2/10/19 to 2/24/19. A bill from Sonic Wall to renew the support for $129 for the year. That's both then, yeah. Staples bill for paper of $61.17. And Mitchell Municipal Group for $200.20 for general matters, and for Eversource, $60.54. And another bill from Donahue Tucker and Ciandella for $76.50, and that is also on the PSNH and NHEC.
Yes.
And that's the total.
All right, make a motion to accept the bills as read on the record by Marilou.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else? No other public comments? See you now, meeting adjourned.